It is common in all cultures in Kenya. Let me talk about Kenya because that's where I come from, but I would have probably said the word dowry payment. Have you ever paid dowry? How did you pay your dowry? Well, today we'll be talking about dowry payment. Tutakuwa tukiongea kinagaubaga bila kuficha white kama vile wanavyoisema. Tukisaidia vijana wale ambao washaolewa, hawajaolewa, yani watu kutoka tabaka mbalimbali kuelewa jinsi ya kulipa mahari, mbona ilipwe. Biblia inasema nini kuhusiana na swala hili? Jina langu ni Super Waroe. I want to welcome you to Ask the Ministers of God, because it's where you get real answers, genuine answers from genuine men of God. Well, today my intro will be a bit different. Pastors, I know tumezoea tu ile kujiintroduce.
Yeah.
Kujiintroduce na kusema kama umelipa mahari ama umelipiwa.
Thank you so much, Super. Hello viewers, na wasalimu wote kwa jina la Yesu. My name is Reverend Gabriel, and I'm saved. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, and I'm also a pastor ministering here in Nyeri with the House of Faith Church. Mimi kile nilifanya kama vile Super ameuliza, nilipeleka kipawa kwa wazazi na nikawaheshimu.
Wacha tu hapo. Wacha tutakuwa tukielewa kipawa, kuheshimu, is it all the same?
Right.
Karibu sana Minister Rahab.
Thank you for this invitation. Hello viewers. Yes, I am Rahab Wajohi Gishungi, and I love the Lord. And for me, the dowry was paid. I don't think I have a debt. My husband has a debt. I was told, alilipa mali.
Well, glory to God. Karibuni sana. And today we want to kick off with the quote of the day, as it is our norm. And the quote of the day is, the main attraction in any marriage should be the wife or the bride, not the dowry. The main attraction in any marriage should be the wife or the bride and not the dowry. A very interesting quote of the day to kick us off.
Right.
Because mostly tumepata the main attraction, haswa kama wewe ndio unalipiwa mahari ile itatolewa upande wako, iletwe, you are more attracted if you're not delivered to the dowry, to the money, to the cows, than how is the bride. And you know, in law, they call it aye. Ukikuyuni tunaita rorashio. Kwa Masai wanaita naluesha. Unaona nimefanya research kabisa. Haya basi kwa Kizungu tunaita your dowry payment, and different cultures across the world practice it very differently. Ukiangalia kwenye dictionary, I was surprised to see that it is defined as a gift that is taken by the man to the woman, or rather vice versa actually, by the woman to the man, as opposed to how our culture receives it. So we kick off with one of the questions that we got on the ground, and we've got varied questions and comments, and very interesting ones. Leo ni leo, mukubali kukaa kwenye kitimoto, mujibu maswali kuhusiana na kulipa mahari.
Ningependa tu kuuliza swali ya kwamba ni pesa ngapi ama how much dowry does it needed to be paid for a person who is learned, msichana ambaye amesoma na ako na kazi nzuri. Nauliza tu kwa niaba ya wanaume.
How much dowry is reasonable dowry? Thank you, John, for that question. And I know inaguza moyo wako in a very special way. But anyway, how much dowry is good dowry, or is enough dowry?
Right. Thank you, Super. If I can begin with the quote that you have just opened this discussion with, the focus should be on the bride and not the dowry. And this is because there's no way we can quantify the bride in terms of monetary value. And in this case, when we are talking about dowry, we can look at it as a gift. We can sometimes call it dowry. Some people call it bride price. But the reality, the real situation is that this is a matter of appreciating the parents and also honoring the parents of the bride. And so the question of how much is determined by the one who is giving
Pause. I ask for a pause.
Okay.
Because today, let us talk about it, Pastor.
Yeah.
I know you've traveled and traversed the country and other parts of the world. That is what we wish it would be.
Right.
But Minister Rehab, it is not that way. Unapata ya kuwa unaelezwa sisi mambo ya kipawa hakuna. Msichana tulisomesha
alivuja nyungu.
Tulisomesha hadi campus, amevunja nyungu, akona meno yote 30, hata inahesabiwa. Ni msichana mzuri, ni msichana akona tabia nzuri. So you find it is actually quantified. So when they're asking how much is much, it is because it is a very, very what would I say? It touches the very base of their heart, especially for young men. Because wameelezwa wengine toa milioni 10.
Right.
Toa milioni 3. Yes.
I think one thing we need to appreciate is that dowry is usually meant to bring us to a marriage of togetherness. So you are uniting two families, you are uniting two tribes, two clans, or two nations, whatever it is. That depends. It depends on where the bride is coming from and where the bridegroom is coming from. So we must first appreciate that, and then there are traditions. We are in this world, and there are some things, whether we want it or not, being believers, we will go by the traditions of now, because marriage is between families. It's not only between two. According to our culture and the practice of people, especially in our nation, it's between two families, cultures. The two of you are uniting them. So we start from there.
So it's about uniting.
It is about uniting. And these people have got their cultures. From my experience, what I have seen, when you are being asked the amount that when you go and you ask, what is it that is expected? Because what happens when the young man has visited the bride-to-be's home, the young men first go to the girl's home. If the parents accept this young man, they tell him, we can't discuss with you because mtoto ni wa wazazi. You go and bring your parents, then we discuss together. When the parents come, they are asked, this is what our culture does. Okay? If you are Kikuyu, you know what the Kikuyus do. They are the number of goats that are expected. They are the number of this, unahesabiwa, unaadikiwa. And if these people are believers, there are some things they will not even ask, but they'll tell you, the custom.
Okay? I agree with you, Pastor Rahab, and I hear you.
Yes.
I would understand, but someone would be watching. And I'd throw it back to Pastor. We're together on this.
Yeah.
Aelezwe, wewe kijana, kwetu tunaleta mbuzi 20.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mbuzi moja ni how much?
We'll call it maybe 10,000.
So kama ni 20, that's 200,000.
Yeah.
Na hiki na hana huo uwezo.
Yeah.
I mean, how much is much? A very important question. But I think just as we continue answering that, allow us to link it with the next question.
So mi yangu nauliza aje, as in, kan nimeokoka, is it advisable kupeleka mahari kwa kina bibi, as in kupeleka tukaa pombe hivyo? Juu wengine wanasema si vizuri kupeleka pombe, na mimi najua kwa dini, yani kwa ile desturi yetu ni lazima kupeleka pombe. Sasa mtu ameokoka na stahili kupeleka pombe?
I hear you. That's why I thought it's very important we just keep on hearing questions, because you are getting into that. The do's and don'ts. A Christian family, they want to get married. Maybe a young man and a young woman. Maybe you could just touch on it as she also touches on a few other things that shouldn't be done and should be done. Okay.
The first thing, I think, the way we approach dowry and marriage itself, especially in our setting, in our cultural setting, and in our nation, Kenya, we can look at it in three different perspectives. We can look at it from the traditional perspective, from the Christian perspective, or from a mixture of both.
Another what they're asking is, what as a born again?
Yes, I'm coming there now.
Yes,
I'm coming there now. And so when we look at marriage and the issue of dowry, we should avoid mixing these things. When we are Christians, we need to look at and even approach the issue of dowry and marriage from the Christian perspective. But when we mix these issues, there will be complications.
Let's take just a practical example.
Yeah.
And I'd ask both of us to give thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's say it's just a practical example. A young man is getting married to a young woman. What are some of the things you'd say don't do? Maybe just practically. You know what is done. Say maybe in a Kikuyu culture. That's a good example.
Right.
You know, there are things that are done.
Yeah.
What would you say? This, I would say categorically, as a woman of God, as a man of God, do not do.
Number one, we should not compromise with the traditions. We should not involve ourselves with traditions, especially when we do not even understand the consequences, the implications of those traditions. Like in my case, when I went to my wife's place, they demanded I must bring certain, what they call muate and harika. And also the parents demanded I must take some beer, literally. And they also,
we refuse that in Jesus' name.
They also demanded I had to take to go and slaughter certain sacrificial lamb and pour it somehow. And then they actually said if I won't go and do that, I should not go. Then I told them then I can't do that, so I will not come, but the wedding will still continue.
Wow.
So every believer, when we approach the issue of marriage and dowry from the Christian perspective, Christians should stand as Christians, and we should be firm.
You talk about like now beer. So you stood your ground.
Yes, we should avoid compromising with some of these traditions, of which we do not even understand the implications.
Very true.
Of which some of them we link our children, our generations with the ancestral altars, as we go and compromise with those traditions.
You want to say, a man of God, on this particular asset, that if I compromise and just do it because I want to make my parents happy, maybe nikuja na pombe, that I'll be linking my children with ancestral altars?
Yeah, first of all, let's agree. Dowry proceeds from what used to be practiced. You know, that is what I have. Now I'm talking from the practical point of view, because I've seen people bring out a paper of what was paid for the mother is what is to be paid for the daughter. Personally, let me thank God that my father did not ask for those things. So my daughter was I actually have received the dowry.
Wow, congratulations.
Recently. So, and when our daughter was being, when they came to pay the dowry, if we may put it that way, we talked with the father and said, now you can't even sell a child. How much can you value a daughter whom you have educated up to university level and is working and all that? We said, whatever they have is what we will receive. We will not refuse to receive, because we also don't want these people to see like we are looking for a way of getting rid of our daughter. If they bring the gifts, like Abraham's servant did for Isaac, he went with gifts, they were received. Okay? And I think dowry should be looked at from that point of it is a gift.
It is a
but
gift.
Don't be mean. Don't again go with 50 shillings that is the gift you have taken to your father-in-law or to the parents-in-law.
I hope our young men are your ears are open na mnasikia. Just because someone says it is a gift, kindly make it a generous gift, as generous can be.
Right.
Well, very important pointers that whenever you give dowry and do it in a traditional way, ancestral way, you are actually glorifying an altar that is not God's altar. But nevertheless, after all is said and done, it is a gift. But how much of a gift is a gift has been answered. When we come back, much more. Let's hear what we'll be answering before going for the break.
Mimi nataka kuuliza swali. Is it biblically kwa wasichana kutoa mahari, na kama wamebarikiwa au watabarikiwa wakitoa mahari?